I'm the Cryptid Huntress, Jessica Jones, and I'm ready to take you on a mysterious journey right now. We welcome you to Off the Trails right here on Spaced Out Radio's YouTube channel. If you haven't hit subscribe yet, please do. We would love to have you. Shout out to Bumblefoot for that really awesome intro music. Once again, we do appreciate it. You can follow us at Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, okay? Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. You can find me at thecryptidhuntress.com, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Cryptid Huntress. Visit my shop, Lore Woman Goods. That's on Etsy, and you guys can find some of my goods on my website, okay? I have a fantastic guest for y'all tonight. I have Mr. Keith Mclain in the studio tonight, and don't forget that right after our show, After Hours has a great program set up for you guys tonight. So let's get to our guest. Keith Mclain has a lifetime of extensive outdoor related experience and credentials. He's an avid outdoorsman who holds a Bachelor of Science in biology with a concentration in wildlife biology and a Master in Aquaculture. Keith was a member of the Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization, or BFRO, from 2006 to 2010 and participated or led many expeditions before creating Enigma Research Group with 3 of his fellow like-minded researchers. Once they realized there is much more in the woods than just Sasquatch, they created ERG to focus on the big picture, to look at other areas, ET, paranormal, and other cryptids. He has had many close encounters over the past several years in all 3 areas. He has substantial training in remote viewing and is an experienced tracker who is trained with numerous groups in the United States. He's a member of the International Society of Professional Trackers and the Society of Primitive Technology. And I have my friend and my teammate, Mr. Keith Mclain. Welcome, Keith, to SOR tonight.
Hey, Jessica, how you doing?
Hey, Keith, I'm doing awesome. I got a little tongue-tied doing your intro there, but hey, we're gonna rock it out tonight.
I do that to people.
You do. There's just so much to say, Keith. So much to say about it's gonna be really fun tonight, and I'm so glad you're here. We have spent a lot of time out in the woods together doing research. Yeah. I got to join your group and get on your team back, I think it was around 2011, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
You're one of the early additions to our group. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And it has grown exponentially since then. And we are a tight-knit group. But you started off doing expeditions and research with the BFRO.
Right.
And you did that for a while. Now, tell me a little bit about how you got into it and how you, I don't want to say graduated into ERG, but tell us a little bit about it.
Well, so I'd always been somewhat interested in Bigfoot, but was never what you'd call a believer. But there was a period, I guess early 2000s where I was listening to, Art Bell Coast to Coast a lot. And I was, trading shows with my sister-in-law, like I would listen to one, I'd call her up, say, hey, this is what I heard. And she would do the same to me. But this one time he had Matt Moneymaker on there, BFRO, and interviewed him. And that's the first time I'd heard somebody refer to it as a species, Gigantopithecus blacki, rather than just some big hairy guy. Growing up was always just one hairy guy out in the Pacific Northwest. And
Right.
So that really interested me, and I got on the website, checked it out, and the more I read it, the more it just kind of made sense that there could be something out there rather than all these reports. If you go on the website, there's thousands of reports all over, sightings or audio, all sorts. But it just made more sense that on one hand, like all these people have to be either idiots, liars, or crazy. On the other hand, some of them are not, and they actually saw something. So that hand makes more sense. So I ended up talking to Matt Moneymaker a couple times. Ended up going on an expedition, which led to another, which led to another, which led to another. so led to me becoming a member, and where I would take reports and interview people when they had their sightings.
Yeah.
But it was at that point where, after doing that for it wasn't very long, maybe 8-10 months, I realized that I don't really care about other people's sightings. I'd rather just do my own work.
I feel you. I feel you on that. I wouldn't want to be taking other people's reports either. I mean, I wouldn't mind doing it, but I know you're the kind of boots on the ground researcher that most of our team is.
I don't want to hear what somebody else did. I want to do it.
Yeah, that's more fun. Absolutely.
But I think it was all part of the process I needed to go through. I enjoyed my time with the BFRO. I know some people aren't fans of them, but I think they were a great starting point. And but eventually I felt the need to move on. Lee and JT, who I'd met at expeditions there, were feeling the same. In fact, I think Lee, both of them had dropped out before I did, actually. And then during that time we met Craig, and we're getting together. We're doing our own research and seeing weird stuff in the woods. When you're out all night without flashlights, you're going to see some things or experience things. And what we realized was that not all this is Bigfoot. There's some weird stuff that we can't really explain, but at least from our lens of a Bigfoot researcher, and both Lee and JT had paranormal and ET backgrounds. I think Craig was more like me, just straight up in the woods, flesh and blood kind of guy. But we realized that when you look at like the three big areas of research that normal people like to make fun of, and the Bigfooters, the ET people, and the paranormal ghost hunters, that we realized that there's things that we're experiencing that we might want to put in Bigfoot because we're Bigfoot researchers that might fit in paranormal. Paranormal guy might see something and want to put it paranormal, but it's probably ET related, and likewise. So there's a whole big, triangular dichotomy. And so we decided to start looking at all that, and that's where we came up with the name Enigma Research. We purposely didn't want to have the name Bigfoot attached to it or any specific, area. So we're just any enigma, any puzzle. We're down to research it.
Yeah, and you guys were pretty solid when it came to survival skills and tracking. I mean, we've got former military and search and rescue kind of people and paramedics and stuff like that. So I was very impressed when I first met you guys. Okay, I was the odd woman out, by the way. I felt like that. I was like, what am I doing here with these trackers and experts?
It was all guys. Like we had to get some feminine energy.
Y'all just needed a female. I just got lucky, right? I'm just kidding.
You're Bigfoot, right? Yeah.
Yeah, well, some of us do bring the high strangeness. Yeah, well, you knew y'all needed bait. That's what it was. Yeah. Y'all needed bait out in those woods. And I was Sasquatch bait.
But Bigfoot are less apprehensive approaching females than males. Males are generally associated with guns and hunters, whereas females are not so much. So they are actually more likely to interact.
Yeah.
So getting you in there was a good call.
It worked out well for me. Yeah. I'm sitting here today talking about Bigfooting, okay, on Space Out Radio. So it worked out pretty well. Now you really are a great tracker, and you and Craig. Now we're referring to Craig Jackson, everybody. He's been on the show. He's a friend of Space Out Radio too. And you guys, I learned tracking from you guys. Okay. And I actually have a picture of you, Keith, and Craig, and Lee, the head of our team of Enigma Research Group. You guys were down at the Green Swamp down in Florida, here. Yeah. What do y'all teach tracking to people, other Bigfoot field researchers?
We have not done it in a while though. And truthfully, since COVID, we've kind of been doing our own little things here and there, but nothing major. But historically, if a group of researchers, wanted to learn how to track, we'd go and do a weekend and do a tracking a tracking class. And the tracking is good, but I do say it all basically comes from Lee. Lee is the most trained of all of us, and and then I think he taught JT, and set him up with some other groups. Like you've probably heard of Roy and Will in Virginia. They're incredible trackers. So we've done work with them, but eventually I learned it. And then, since then we've, taught other groups how to do it. So it's a real methodical. You're looking at, track lines. You're not looking for just big footprints. You're looking for, signs. So sign could be a depression in the ground. It could be a grass blade that's broken. It could be a muddy smudge on a branch where like a muddy hand grabbed it. All sorts of things. So there's ground sign and aerial sign.
Yeah.
So we're taught to look at that, and then once you get a baseline of like the size of a foot, because eventually you see small items and you're just putting together the puzzle, and eventually you'll get an idea of what the foot may look like or what the stride is or the straddle. Stride is the distance from step to step. Straddle is this distance between the 2 feet, horizontally. And once you get those, you can get an idea of size, speed of movement, and all sorts of items you can figure out, and just keep going until eventually you see something. But when we're teaching, we do these track lines. So we're like before the class, whoever's teaching has their own track line. So we got these little markers. Here's the beginning, and I just kind of casually walk 100 yards and put another popsicle stick. Might jump over a log, might zigzag a little bit, but eventually it's going to go to the other marker at the end. And after we do kind of a classroom study, then we put people in the field and kind of watch them track and guide them, and ask them, why do you think that sign? Well, do you think that could be a better sign? Why is it not going that way? And and eventually, so their gears are turning, they're learning as they're going, and eventually you get to the end, and it's an amazing thing when you see this marker, like, wow, just like,
I mean, because it's very tedious. Okay. Learning how to track is so tedious, and it can get a little frustrating sometimes. You got to be very calm. Okay.
Yeah. And in fact, every like 10, 15 minutes, you have to do what we call an eye break, which is like get your eyes off the ground, just stare at the sky, anything but the ground.
Anything but the grass and the leaves.
Kind of reset you and you get going.
Yeah.
But it's kind of funny. I remember the first class I taught, I wasn't real confident in my abilities, and so like when I was making my track line, I'm like stomping and grinding. I was like, made it super easy, and it's like, but still it was kind of surprising. People hadn't done it before, so it was not easy for them.
Yeah.
And next one, made it easier, and then I made it harder, and then the next one made it harder. But it's really cool when you get in the zone and you can see stuff. I remember on one of ours, like our track lines, like mine and Lee's, were probably like 20 or 30 yards apart. And we're taking a lunch break, and like Lee's like, yeah, these guys they're off track, but I can't really tell where they veered, and it's getting frustrating. I looked at, and I was in such a zone, like, boom, right there. See, he went over to where I was standing, and he's like, holy, how do you see that? I was like, I don't know, just I was in the zone.
Yeah. Well, it's very important for people who are going to be in the Bigfoot field research community to get out there and learn tracking, because
absolutely, yeah, because you got to distinguish a Bigfoot track from bear track, human track, human hoaxing a Bigfoot. They're out there.
Oh, and the Barefoot Running Club, Keith. The Barefoot Running Club. I don't know. I could not run barefoot in the woods like that, but yeah.
Yeah, I've done it. It's pretty cool. It's getting barefooted in the woods. It helps me connect better with nature. It just kind of feel more just in tune. So I mean, it's a good way you should try it. I mean, you jumped in rivers, might as well, barefoot in the woods.
Yeah, I guess so. Because when you're out there learning tracking, it's not just human tracking, and it's important to learn human tracking because Bigfoots move kind of like a human, okay, and their their footprints like humans. But you're learning animal tracking of all sorts, so it's not just human. It's animals, okay? It's everything, which actually kind of it can help when there's missing people out in the woods, okay? And any kind of search and rescue, it's a very valuable thing to learn. So I highly recommend it to anybody who wants to get into just going out in the woods in general, okay? And yeah, I think that's a great idea. And also, something else that we've learned as a team is remote viewing. And Keith, you've trained extensively in that. And that's something that you don't just use when we're looking into paranormal events and things that happen to us. You can help find missing people if you needed to, doing those skills. So these skills that we're learning as a Bigfoot research team are so valuable every other facet of our lives.
In all other areas of life.
Yeah. Well, you are like the team minimalist camper, okay? That's right. You love minimalist camping and your primitive tools and things like that. I mean, I have a lot of respect for you building debris huts and sleeping in the woods by yourself. Okay, that's something that I get pictures sent to me.
I just did it because I forgot my tent.
Okay, well, it's a great tool to have, just to know how to make a survival hut. And for people who aren't familiar with what a debris hut is, I think I have a picture of one here. This is one I found online to show today. It's just
nest.
Yeah, it looks like a nest. It looks like a nest. And right there where the raccoons and possums can crawl in there with you. But in case of an emergency, it's important to know how to make those things, right?
Yeah. But the reason I yelled at Bigfoot nest is constantly, well, not constantly, but I'll get pictures or see pictures, and people say it's a Bigfoot nest or a Bigfoot den, and no, it's a debris hut. It's actually common. I think Boy Scouts do them, but it's a great way to, if you don't have shelter, to, especially if it's cold. I think I sent you. I guess how was it? I think it was it was the Thanksgiving of 2020. COVID, the first COVID Thanksgiving. Yeah, I didn't feel like hanging out with any family or do anything. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go hit the woods and build a debris hut and live out of a debris hut and maybe shoot a squirrel for Thanksgiving or something.
Yeah, I remember that.
But and Craig ended up hanging out with me. I think he came up the next day. So I think a day and a half. Just doing it solo.
Yeah,
really fun. But I think I might have sent you pictures of that. What the picture just came up with mine. But the idea behind a debris hut is you have a stick going across, a bunch of sticks leaning on it, piling leaves, and you want it more insulation the better. So you end up with about 2 feet of leaves on top. So it looks like a big mound of leaves with a small little hole in there. And I was amazed how warm it was. It turned out like I was camping and got down in the teens. I think it was low 20s, which I didn't even notice until I had to crawl out and use the restroom. Couldn't wait to get back in.
So it was cozy, is what you're saying.
Oh, yeah,
so cozy. Yeah, and you had an extra spot for a critter to come in there with you, I'm sure too. But I mean, nonetheless, these things are great to know how to build, for an emergency. But yeah, I have been sent pictures, plenty of pictures. Actually, one this week of a debris hut, which people were wondering if that was a habitation site. Is that what you call it? of a Bigfoot, like a Bigfoot bed. Okay, and I was like, no, that's a debris hut. So yeah. It's fun, but you do love the minimalist camping, and Enigma Research Group actually has a very awesome YouTube channel where you guys can go find Keith. Let me actually pull up that site. So if anyone would like to go subscribe to the Enigma Research Group YouTube channel, Keith has made some great videos on multi-tools, primitive camping, you name it, anything, tracking. And there's actually a really good portable toilet video in there if anybody wants to see.
That's our best, by far our most popular video.
It has almost
That's the
100,000 views. Yeah, of all the videos, that portable toilet video has more views with Enigma Research Group. I don't know. Go figure. Go figure. I know Lee is proud, but
oh yeah, that was good. That was a fun one to film because like while he's on camera, I'm behind the camera, and I'm like really just tormenting them, trying to make them laugh the whole time. It took like 18, 20 different takes to get that.
You know, but this is a survival this is something that people really do need to know how to use. Making a portable toilet, you know, when the power grid goes down, or you know, if anything goes wrong, we need to be able to know how to use the restroom and do certain things. So yeah, so I can understand why that was such a popular video. Okay. So, but yeah, everybody go subscribe to that YouTube channel, and you can check out more Keith's videos.
Yeah, we haven't been active with it. You know, I don't think there's been a new video put on there, and yeah, COVID.
Yeah,
everything on COVID.
Right. Just blame it all on that. Absolutely. Well, Keith, I want to talk with you about some of your paranormal experiences out in the woods. Okay, doing Bigfoot research. I mean, we've had a lot of experiences out there together. Okay, as far as seeing orbs and hearing, you know, whoops and hollers and yells and all this stuff. Tell me about some of your experiences. I know our audience would love to hear some of your experiences, because not only are you experiencing Bigfoot out there, you're experiencing orbs and UFOs and even a portal. Okay, so let's touch on some of your stories tonight.
Any particular one?
The Bigfoot story, your sighting. That's the one that I want to get first.
Yeah, first sighting. Yeah. So I was a member of BFRO, doing a North Carolina expedition, and I think it was our third time we'd been in that area. And so I'd been there. I'd already had some great experiences. Lee was a bunch of other of our members and mutual friends. It was great. It was a hot area. But one thing that a few of us that were not newbies, you know, it's a lot of times, you know, like every expedition, there's always new people. And this one seemed to have a lot more new people than normal. But like the seasoned veterans, like I was hanging out with Dave all weekend. And from the previous 2 years, what we realize is when you get a group of 50 people, got a base camp, and every night they're going out and they're knocking and hooping and howling, it does pique their interest. And so while you get activity the first night and the second night, we notice activity gets closer and closer. And usually by the third or fourth night of the expedition, the activity's in camp. And so that year, for some reason, everybody wanted to go someplace like 20 miles away. And I'm like, I didn't really plan this with Dave now, but I'm thinking, no, I think I'll just stay at camp. I'm just kind of tired and don't feel like going anywhere. So I stayed at camp, and it cleared out, and I had my dog with me, and we're kind of walking around. And it's like, oh yeah, just a couple of people that stayed. And sure enough, it was Dave and his wife and another guy and his wife, and I said, yeah. I was like, why are they going? He's like, I don't know. It's all going to happen here.
We have more activity at base camp than we do when we go out. It's wild.
That is the rule. If they're interested, they will eventually come to you. And now it was really terrible weather. It'd been raining a lot, thick cloud cover, no moon, no stars, no ambient light at all. But so we're hanging out. We had a parabolic mic, night vision binoculars, and we picked it up on the mic first. I was like, yeah, we hear bipedal movement. I didn't have the mic myself, but they told me, yeah, we hear it. It's in that direction. And Dave was like, looking through the binoculars. And he handed them to me, and it was like, as soon as I put it up, boom, I see one just come right across. And it was like 25, 30 feet away. And I mean, it was surreal. In fact, I was in disbelief. I had him, I took it down, look at the lens, put it up again, like, kind of like, thinking maybe there's some trick of the light, like, because there was a camp light, like maybe 50 yards away that way. And I'm like, and after like, about 30 seconds of me doing this, Dave was like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I think I just saw one." Yeah. I mean, it was like, it's just like there's a big oak tree right there, and I think it was like one right there, and like I lost it when it hit the tree, so maybe behind the tree.
Yeah. Interesting.
So Dave and I, like, we give the binoculars to Olaf, and so we decided, like, you know what, we're going to kind of go towards the tree at an angle. So we're going to, like, do like a 45-degree, 45, tree's right here. So we're going to do cut and cut. So, like, hopefully we'll flush it out that way, and then we'll get to see, we'll get, good, more visuals on it. But you get to the tree, nothing. Olaf, comes up, and it's like, well, it was going that way. So he starts looking at it, and he's like, oh, yep, there it is.
Oh,
yards. Not
Second
probably 40 yards away, like kind of at the edge of a thicket. Passes Dave's like, oh, wow, and passes back to me. I get a little bit distracted. So before I can get up, my dog just starts trotting down exactly where it was. So I'm kind of freaking out. So I didn't see it on the second one, but I saw it on I was the first one to see it. And it was great getting confirmation, because if three of us didn't see it, I would, to this day, I'd have my doubts if I saw it. But it's just kind of funny the way your mind plays. Like, yeah, I mean, I saw details. I had a big forehead, long arms. like how could you not think that was a bit? I don't know. It's just your mind just kind of wants you to just rationalize everything. And I was definitely trying to rationalize, because at that time I was a quasi believer. I wasn't. I wasn't. I hadn't drinking the Kool-Aid yet. But anyway, yeah. So it's kind of funny with my dog, running down there, and I'm freaking out, because you hear stories they don't like dogs, and I was like scared to death they were going to pick her up and slam her against a tree.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to call her, but then I don't want to scare the Bigfoot away, so I'm like whispering her name. It's like, what's the point? But eventually she comes back wagging her tail, like, nothing, and I'm convinced that she got right up on it and probably, like, sniffed his leg. Luckily she was wagging her tail. She'd been growling or something, then she would have probably gotten slammed.
Yeah.
But thankful she came back. But yeah, it was a great sighting. What was ironical, though, the three of us described something different. So it's like, my description, I was amazed how long the arms were. I mean, like, from my perspective, they were like way below the knees. I mean, like almost dragging the ground. Yeah. And it seemed shorter too. I was thinking, I mean, it's bigger than human, but 6 foot maybe. And they're describing more classical. It was like, oh shit, that's big. That's like 8 foot. And it wasn't until like the next day, when we had the light of day, that we looked, and it was hard range. Like, finding tracks was going to be difficult, but there was a path about 5 feet on the other side of the tree and down the hill a little bit. So basically I saw it from the knees up, so it looked shorter and looked like it had longer arms.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was strange. And of course, everybody that went off site, and they got skunked, didn't see anything. So it was our little group, the ones that saw it. But that's what made me the believer I am today.
Yeah. Well, you're a believer. All right. I know that. And you having a science background and having a degree in wildlife biology and in aquaculture, okay, even, you really take a scientific stance on everything. Okay. Now, first of all, you can identify any plant in the woods. You can identify any animal noise in the woods, and it makes you a very valuable asset, amongst other things, of course, Keith, to be on a team like ours. Okay. And to have you to be a part of a team like that. Now, knowing what you know and experiencing what you've experienced, I have to assume that you've seen another side to the Bigfoots, to the Sasquatches. They're not just all, we're all flesh and bone, okay? But there's something more to these things. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. They seem to have won the lottery of the the senses that that animals have. Usually if an animal has great eyesight, they might not have great hearing. Like think or like armadillos, great good hearing but terrible eyesight. So it's very seldom you get all five senses so in tune. But they got it, and they got it all. And then there's some weird X factor stuff that goes over and above just your normal senses. Just, yeah. They own the night. Yeah, so
Wait,
we joke about getting a drop on them. Very seldom we ever surprised them and been in a spot where they were unaware that we were there. I mean, that's very few and far between. Usually they see you a mile away, and it's up to them to decide if they want to interact with you or not, or let you interact with them.
Yeah. Now, have you ever experienced a Sasquatch cloaking before? That you know of?
I mean, like I laugh because to this day I can't say for certainty. I mean, I can have my speculations, but I mean, there was some very, very strange incident that it basically combines Sasquatch and orbs. It was very, very bizarre. This was, and you were at this expedition. We had late night. We were up on a mountain, the different groups cruising around. And I think we'd seen, I think you saw some aerial phenomenon.
I did. Orbs, actually.
What's that?
Orbs. I saw a gigantic orb that night.
Yeah. I think somebody else actually had a Bigfoot sighting, and but eventually, kind of meander away. And where we were is probably, it was good, like 30-40 minute hike to get back to camp, and so we all kind of were like, coming back when we get tired. So I think I was one of the first ones back. I got back like maybe around 1:30. Had my dog with me. In this scenario here, I was like, I just had a tarp, so I was sleeping on the ground with a tarp. So I wanted to have 360-degree view. So no tent, just me and my dog on the ground. Done. Yeah.
Primitive, right? Minimalist.
I'm sorry, what?
Minimalist, right?
Yeah, minimalist. Yeah. So people start settling in, and I think about maybe about 2:00 was the last one in, and I'm kind of drifting off, and maybe about 2:15, my dog, she starts pawing me. Steve, cut that out. She keeps pawing me. I'm telling her to cut it out, and eventually she kind of fish hooked me with her toenail, got me in the lip, and grabbed.
You got fish hooked.
And that got my attention. All right, you obviously see something. You need my attention. So so I sit up, and then as soon as I sit up, then she just kind of goes pointer, and she's not a pointer. She was a red heeler, so she just is pointing, and then just kind of like watching, like she's watching something move, and then I think I kind of hear footsteps. I never saw anything. I'm like, but I'm kind of watching her where she's watching. I'm watching, and out here like a stick crack and something, and it was like, and it's just basically something was just walking around our camp. And then when it gets near Don's tent, it stopped, didn't hear any noise, but then I see a light just kind of just starts off as a pin light, and it just grows, and gets about the size of this is probably, I don't know, 20 yards away, bigger than a basketball, probably about like that. It's kind of a cool white light, and it had like a thin line like around it, or inside of it, and it just, it's like it just did there. It probably shined for like maybe 3 seconds, and then it just disappeared. And then didn't hear anything after that. My dog, who was like on super high alert, as soon as it disappeared, she just laid down and went to sleep. I'm like, well, I guess that means it's gone, whatever it is. And I kind of sat around a little bit, and of course nothing's going on. But man, I just noted the time. And then next morning we kind of did a debrief. And before I got to my debrief, Don was like, "Who was walking around my tent last night?" And like, well, what time was that? It was like 2:30. Yeah, it wasn't me, but I got a story to tell you.
Yeah.
That's
So he
probably
heard it
what
too.
happened. And so, so based on the heavy footfall that he heard, because it was like right next to his tent. So he goes like, yeah, I think it was somebody big, but he just didn't know who it was. And so based on that, then you can kind of surmise that, yeah, it probably was the Bigfoot that cloaked, or it was something big that cloaked.
Yeah.
Can't see it, can't say it was Bigfoot, but it was something did cloak. And then and can you say the orb could have been a portal? I don't know.
Yeah. But that's what's really cool. What's really cool about our team is like we don't just assume that everything's Bigfoot or everything's an orb or everything's an ET.
Yeah.
We keep an open mind about everything.
I mean,
And
we don't even know what orbs are.
we have no clue. We don't. Well, Strangeland had a comment tonight. He was as a question. He said, was the orb linked to the Sasquatch, or was the Sasquatch a light form being or flesh and blood? What do you think, Keith? Do you think that some of these orbs could be Bigfoots?
Based on that one incident, that you could say, yeah, they probably are connected, assuming that was a Bigfoot that was walking around the camp.
Yeah.
But it's like I said, there's just so much weird stuff out there, and the more we experience, the more questions we end up getting, and but it's all interconnected. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
So Bigfoot, ET, there's definitely a connection there. Paranormal and ET, definitely a connection.
Yeah.
Paranormal, Bigfoot, maybe not a connection, but yeah, I mean, like I said, everything's kind of it's a big web or network of that's connected to that, that's connected to that, connected to that.
High strangeness. Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Now, have you experienced different colored orbs out there? I mean, because a lot of times, I mean, I've seen some that look like the moon. Okay, and that was that night actually.
Yeah, I did one where I had 3 orbs, different colors. I think it was red, blue, and amber. And it was across a field. And, my first thought was, yeah, it could be 3 different hikers with headlamps on. But then I got somebody up with a thermal, and we looked at it, and there's no heat signature at all. And then I saw, one of the orbs just, it shot out, about 50 yards to the right, and then 50 yards back, and in about 1.5 seconds, no bouncing up and down. It was just straight line. It's like, yeah, that was a really cool one. But yeah, 3 colors. That's the only time I've seen more than one at a time. And I think other people have had multiple orb sightings at once. But usually for me, it's usually solos, or there's more than one in the environment, but it's usually not together. So I might see one here, one over there. Yeah. But so when you mention cloaking, there's another story that kind of comes to mind. You want to hear it?
Absolutely. That's why we're here tonight. Let's hear it.
Good.
Let's hear it. I love your stories.
This one was me and Lee.
The head of our team.
Yeah. We're camping. I think the weirdness started when I decided to kind of just we'd already set up camp. It was already dark. Had a cigar, decided to go walk around, with my cigar. And as I'm walking, I see an orb, and I'm able to kind of follow it around. And so, you might hear, some people say, "Well, was it a lightning bug?" And it's like, no, if you've seen them enough, seen lightning bugs enough, you can distinguish between the two. But for the most part, if it's bigger and it doesn't turn off, it's an orb, because lightning bugs will flash. And depending on like the temperature of the species, or if they're mating or not, they'll flash at different frequencies. But they'll always flash. The longest they'll stay on might be like 4 or 5 seconds. Yeah, so I see this orb, and I decided, what, I'm just gonna kind of follow it, see where it goes, and it wouldn't ever get me. Wasn't able to get more than or closer than maybe 30 yards. And just go further, kind of let me get a little bit, then just zip back, and then I go up and zip back, and eventually I guess it got sick of me following it, and it just kind of went straight up the mountain. And I'm like, I don't feel like because we were like on a gravel road, so that was easy. But once turned into me bushwhacking. Yeah, I didn't try chasing it down, because I knew I was never going to catch it.
Yeah.
I came back to Lee and it's going to be a weird night. He goes, yeah, well, I'm already stuff. So we trade stores. We're sitting there, and for the next like hour and a half, we're hearing these kind of a creaky, moany vocalization. First, it was a little bit windy. So first thought, trees moving and rubbing together. But the more we listened and watched, the more we realized that it had nothing to do with the trees at all. Especially when we'd hear them here, hear them here, hear them low, high. They're all. I mean, there's like we're hearing them from 8 different locations. And usually, if it's windy and trees rubbing, it's usually just a one tree. And when it wasn't blowing, that's when we were hearing it. So it was some kind of strange vocalization. Neither one of us had ever heard it before, and we haven't heard it since. But we're having a blast listening to it, and eventually we decided, you know what? I mean, we know how close they are because we can kind of hear them. So they're whatever they are, they're within 25 25 yards. We weren't using headlamps or anything. Wasn't shining, because usually when you shine the light, that's when stuff disappears. But we debated on it for a couple minutes. Like, I think we probably let's turn on the light, see what happens. And so he flicks on his lamp, and what we see was didn't see any entities or anything. No Bigfoot, no ETs or anything like that. But what we saw was just a strange distortion of the shadows. It's like the closest, so we're shining where the closest vocalization was from, which is kind of like a bush that was about 20 yards away. And so the shadows we saw sort of looked like there was a canvas behind the bush. And then we were seeing shadows of the bush on that canvas. But what was weird, though, is you got this little twig like size of my finger. The shadow of that twig was like this thick. So it was think of it as you have your flashlight and you're waving your finger in front of that, like a shadow that would make on the wall. So the size of the shadows, the movement of the shadows, is just, it was bizarre. Everything was distorted. And then so he's like, all right, well, let's turn it off and turn it back on, turn it off, turn it back on, everything's clear.
That is really odd.
And the vocalization stopped. So it was we proved that hypothesis. When you turn the lights on, things go away. Yeah. But in this case, it was a great time to do it because I think we did experience something cloaking. So whatever it was, I mean, it was bending the light around, so we couldn't see it, and that's why the shadows were all distorted.
Yeah, that's an interesting story. I've never heard a story like that before, Keith.
I don't think either one of us have mentioned that either.
Yeah,
it was one of our most profound, occurrences that we've had together, and I think after it happened, we probably talked about it once and then kind of forgot about it.
Yeah, well, a lot of people might not even pick up on those subtleties like that. Okay. And, just feeling, a lot of people are going to get that gut instinct and you feel that something's chasing you or stalking you. But when it comes down to it and you turn your headlamps on or your lights and everything's just a tiny bit distorted, a lot of people don't even notice that. And so kudos to you and Lee for even noticing that. Because,
it was hard not to notice. I mean, that was, yeah.
That's interesting. Well, one of my first experiences out there with ERG, I felt something run up behind me that wasn't there, and hit the back of my legs when I was walking up that field. Yeah. So
that was a good one.
Yeah. I mean, so
that was your inoculation to the group right there, wasn't it?
It was. I was bait. Okay. I was being bait. And it was fun. And but it was also scary.
Of course, the stuff that happened to you and JT, have you talked about that on any of your shows at all?
I have not. I mean, I have probably in the past, but I haven't spoken about that recently. No, not at all. That was a pretty profound experience because, a lot of times when we're out in the field, our equipment malfunctions, and so that's the first sign. Once your clocks, your watches, and the times going forward on one device and backwards on another, that's a good sign that you guys are probably having missing time and probably got abducted by aliens. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who
Usually,
knows?
if I have any electronics I'm worried about, because they'll get fried, they go straight in my glove box, turn it off, go in the glove box, and because the car is kind of like a Faraday cage. Because I don't want all this expensive gear to get trashed.
Yeah.
But that happens. I've had like GPSs get all haywire. Had compasses, do 180s on me. And I kind of like call my compass a poor man's EMF detector. You just get
Yeah, right.
doing weird stuff. Something's going on, or something an electronic event is going on.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good indicator when your devices start messing up. That there's probably something going on out there. I mean, that was the night that we had UFOs flying over us and all around us, and orbs, and
yeah.
So
Because I think it was that same weekend and I think it was while either it was the night that you got smacked in the back of the leg.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was that same night, but I was in another field maybe 5 miles away, and that was one of the times where I had my compass go backwards. Like, we saw a low flying thing that's like not a helicopter, doesn't look like a plane. We couldn't tell what it was. It didn't have your typical red on the left, green on the right light. It was like, I don't think that was a plane. And, so I noted the bearings, like, all right, we'll see, like those. So I put out the compass, noted the bearings of, where it was flying. And after it flies over away, I double checked it, and it was like 180 off. It's like, because I went, as I said, yeah, it was flying north, northeast, like, I forget what it was, like, 15 degrees northeast. And I'm just making that up just for story. I don't remember what the number was. But then after I put it away and it goes away, I'm like, I think we're facing south. Like, it's like, yeah, we're facing south. Just like,
well, why do you think that? Why do you think the compass did that? I mean, what do you think? What does your gut tell you?
Yeah, I guess it comes down to whatever's powering their engines.
Mm-hmm.
If it's like a magnetic drive, or I don't know.
Do you think that
technology does tweak our electronics for sure?
It does, and
so it's both magnetic and electronics are affected. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that the places where our teams research, do you think that a lot of those are on ley lines? I don't even know if I've looked it up where we go.
I have not looked it up. But yeah, I would not be surprised at all. Why have neither one of us done that?
I don't know. I was just wondering that myself. That's something we should definitely look into.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Yeah, because I've seen ley line maps, and I've been out in the field with people that are sensitive to ley lines, and that's crazy. It's actually entertaining, because driving down the road and like, whoa, I just found a big ley line, get out, and like maps it out, and like I don't even know what you're seeing. Because I'm not sensitive to anything at all. If I don't see it or hear it, I don't feel it.
I disagree with you on that, Keith. I think you were very sensitive to this stuff personally, because I've spent a lot of time out there with you, and I think we're all a little bit sensitive, especially being such a naturalist and being out in the woods so much. You have you're like a spirit tracker out there. Okay, so yeah.
Yeah, maybe so, but yeah, I guess it's not it's not something natural to me. So I had to work on with the tracking and RVing and meditating, stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you also do martial arts, and you're into jujitsu, and how does that all kind of bring all of this together for you? Is it the discipline of the martial arts and being out in the woods and the Bigfooting and the remote viewing? I mean, does it all come together for you somehow?
As
Yeah.
far as the connection between martial arts and Bigfoot, and they're not totally exclusive, but they're not really connected. But yeah, I mean, I feel confident being in the woods, that I could
Well, you're tough.
handle
Okay.
myself.
You're
Yeah, yeah.
tough, and you stay out there by yourself in debris huts in the middle of nowhere. So I think you're tough.
Hmm.
I think it all kind of connects.
But I mean, and I guess different martial arts do different things for you. It's like jujitsu is really in your face. It's
Yeah.
brawn against brawn, but and brain against brain, trying to and really pressure testing. Whereas Aikido is more along the esoteric lines. And
Yeah.
so, like when I was really doing a lot of Aikido, I was probably at my most sensitive because you're like when you're practicing Aikido, you're trying to feel subtle weight shifts in your opponent, and I guess there's definitely sensitivity there, and Filipino martial arts just beating people with sticks, so I don't know where that fits.
Well, you're gonna need to. You
It's
got to
not fun.
defend yourself. Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Now, okay, Keith, I have to ask you from a wildlife biologist perspective, uh, what do you think that we're dealing with out there when it comes to Bigfoot? I mean, what do you think that they are? I know we were mentioning flesh and bone earlier, and
Yeah.
there's an X factor to it, but I- what exactly do you think these are? And I was also going to ask you about other cryptids as well. Do you think these things are able to walk through portals or
Uh,
be interdimensional?
I mean, the more we've had them appear out of nowhere and disappear into nothingness, then I think they do have access to portals. Whether they're opening the portals themselves, I don't know. That may be the ET connection.
Yeah.
But yes, I do think they're flesh and blood. But I think they definitely have enhanced senses, whether they're God given senses or genetically modified by ET type enhancements. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I like that you at least entertain these ideas, and put it out there, especially having such a scientific background like you have. It's pretty refreshing being out in the field with scientific minds like yours, Keith, but also being street smart too, and having some common sense. Not the scientists don't have street smarts and common sense, but I'm just saying. It's a great combo, and I think that that's what makes our team very unique and very special out there. Is
Yeah,
we have a very diverse
yeah,
crowd.
pretty awesome.
Yeah. Well, Keith, what kind of advice do you have for people that want to get out and do some bigfooting and get out in the woods and maybe even learn survival skills? What would you tell somebody today?
Um, just go out there and do it. Yeah, don't talk about it, just do it. Or I guess that's the short answer. But you should probably research it a little bit and maybe get a group of like-minded people that are interested in the same thing. Because doing it by yourself is probably boring and dangerous at the same time. So find a group of people that want to do it, and if there's a skill set you want to learn, practice it, and if your practicing doesn't get anywhere, then seek somebody to teach that to you.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think it's all about just getting out there.
Yeah. It's about getting those boots on the ground, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, do you have any do you take people out on expeditions ever? I mean, is that something that your team or you do? And I know I'm a part of your team, but do you
Uh,
ever take people out there or you just kind of stick with your team usually?
we've done it in the past, but it's just I don't like doing the tourist thing. Babysitting people that want to like, mark their bucket list. I went Bigfoot hunting. No. I was like, if you're truly interested, we'll kind of fill you out and maybe take you out on a couple things, and that may lead to something, which may lead to another trip, which may lead to another one. But yeah, I mean, we're not. And I'm pretty sure Lee and JT are in the same, and Craig are in the same mindset. It's like, yeah, we're kind of happy doing our own thing.
Yeah.
If somebody
Yes.
wants. Oh
Yes, it's actually really cool having a very close knit team, and you got to be out there with people that you trust, right?
yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, it's very important, especially when it's not the cryptids out there that I worry about. It's other humans. Okay.
Yeah.
And so it's good to have people that have your back when you're out in the woods.
Yeah.
That's that would be my big piece of advice.
Yeah. I mean, we just recently heard about the shooting that took place in one of the national forests is nearby.
Yeah.
That's scary.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that was out in Alabama. They actually just had a shooting out there. So everybody be really careful out in those national forests.
Damsel in distress. My car broke down. And
yeah.
Stopped to help her, and she robbed him. Yeah. That's tragic. Yeah. So you always got to be, vigilant on your toes.
Yeah, we do. Well, Keith, this hour has flown by as always. Okay. And I know that we put this up on the screen earlier tonight, but tell everybody where they can find the Enigma Research Group.
I guess it'll be enigmaresearchgroup.com.
Yes, and on YouTube.
And on YouTube, do Enigma Research Group. That's pretty much it. Yeah. But I do apologize. We have not been active with it lately. But maybe we'll start throwing more videos out. Yeah.
It's okay. It's not your fault. Okay. We all could be pitching in on that, but but yeah, there's a lot of great videos, and you guys please check out the portable toilet video by Lee. Okay. The head of our team. He loves that video. I love the video. Yeah.
You need to be pushing the ones that don't have any viewings,
Yeah, well, and we also have we actually investigated Corpsewood Manor in North Georgia. We have a 3-part series.
That has a lot of views. That's a good.
Has a lot of views. So you guys check out our ghost investigation.
Like a 2 or 3-parter. Yeah.
Yeah, that was from 10 years ago. But yeah, it's awesome. We do have some great some videos, and we have a DVD. If anybody's interested, y'all send me an email, and we'll get you some tracking DVDs out. Okay. So Keith, thank you so much for being here tonight and being my guest. I would love to have you back. Yes. Okay. Well, listen, I will be seeing you out in them woods. Okay. Soon, I hope. Okay, Keith. Have a good night. Thank you so much for being here. Okay. All right. Bye, Keith. All right, y'all, that was awesome. Keith is definitely one of my favorites. Okay. Don't forget that right after this show, you can join the After Hours crew, and they're going to take you on an incredible, mysterious journey for the next 3 hours. Next time on Off the Trails, my guest is Josh Wolf Turner, and we'll be talking about his recent Dogman Conference and the Paranormal Round Table. But for now, I'm the Cryptid Huntress, Jessica Jones, and I'm headed off the trails. And I will see you guys next week. You guys have a great week. All right. I'll see you soon. Bye, y'all.